Tonight, we slowly drift back into the distant past, into a time when the oceans of the world were far more mysterious than they are today. In ancient times, the sea was not fully explored, not fully understood, and certainly not trusted. To sailors, fishermen, and travelers who depended on the ocean, the waters beyond the horizon felt endless, dark, and alive with unknown creatures. Imagine standing on the deck of a wooden ship hundreds of years ago. The wind pushes the sails gently. The waves move slowly beneath the hull, and the only sounds are the creaking of wood and the distant cries of seabirds. There are no satellites, no sonar systems, and no modern maps, just the sea stretching endlessly in every direction. For the people of the past, the ocean was more than just water. It was a place where legends lived, and among the most terrifying legends were stories of enormous sea creatures so large that sailors believed they could swallow ships whole. One of the most famous of these legendary creatures was the Kraken. The Kraken was believed to live in the deep, cold waters near Scandinavia. Sailors described it as a gigantic creature, often compared to an enormous squid or octopus. According to the stories, the Kraken could rise from the depths without warning when it surfaced. Its massive tentacles would spread across the water like giant ropes. Some sailors claimed the creature was so large that its body looked like a small island. Ships would unknowingly sail close to it, believing they had discovered land. But then the creature would move, and the water around it would begin to swirl violently. Terrified sailors told stories of the Kraken dragging ships beneath the waves, pulling them into the dark depths of the ocean. Whether these stories were true or simply exaggerated encounters with giant squids, they spread quickly across Europe and became one of the most famous sea monster legends in history. But the Kraken was not the only creature that haunted the imagination of sailors. Another terrifying creature often described in ancient maps was the sea serpent. Sea serpents appeared in stories from many different cultures. Sailors described them as extremely long creatures, sometimes longer than a ship itself. Their bodies were said to move through the water like enormous snakes, creating long waves behind them. Some explorers claimed they had seen the creature's head rise above the surface of the ocean. Others described dark shapes moving beneath their ships, following them silently through the deep water. In the 16th and 17th centuries, sea serpents became so famous that mapmakers actually drew them onto world maps. If you look at very old maps today, you can sometimes see drawings of giant monsters in unexplored parts of the ocean. These drawings served as warnings to sailors. Beyond this point, the sea was unknown and dangerous. Perhaps one of the most fascinating things about these stories is that many sailors truly believed life at sea was difficult and often frightening. Storms could appear suddenly, waves could destroy ships, and strange animals occasionally surfaced from the deep water. When sailors saw enormous shadows beneath their ships, their imaginations filled in the rest. Another mysterious creature often mentioned in ancient stories was the Leviathan. The Leviathan appears in ancient Middle Eastern legends and religious texts. It was described as an enormous sea creature of unimaginable power. Some stories described it as a giant serpent. Others imagined it as something even larger, a creature capable of creating massive storms simply by moving through the ocean. For people living thousands of years ago, the Leviathan symbolized the terrifying power of the sea. It represented the idea that the ocean was not just a place, but a living force that humans could never fully control. As centuries passed and exploration increased, sailors continued reporting strange encounters at sea. In the 1800s, many ships reported sightings of giant squids. At first, scientists believed these stories were exaggerated or impossible. But eventually, real giant squids were discovered. These creatures can grow longer than a bus, with enormous tentacles and huge eyes designed to see in the darkness of the deep ocean. When the first real specimens were studied, people began to wonder, Could some of the old Kraken stories have been inspired by these massive squids? Even today, the deep ocean remains one of the least explored places on Earth. More than 80% of the ocean is still largely unexplored. Strange creatures continue to be discovered in the deep sea, many of which look almost alien. Some fish have transparent heads, others produce their own light in the darkness, and some creatures have enormous teeth and strange shapes that look like something from a nightmare. Because of this, the legends of sea monsters continue to fascinate people even today. But for ancient sailors, these creatures were not just interesting stories, they were very real fears. Imagine being alone on a wooden ship in the middle of the ocean at night. The water below you is black and endless. The stars above are the only light in the sky. And somewhere beneath the surface, something large could be moving silently through the deep. Perhaps a giant squid. Perhaps a massive unknown fish. Or perhaps something that no human has ever truly seen. Over time, science has explained many of the mysteries that once frightened sailors. But the ocean still holds secrets. Even with modern technology, the deep sea remains a place of darkness and mystery. And sometimes, when researchers send cameras thousands of meters below the surface, they capture images of strange creatures that few people have ever seen before. Creatures that remind us that the legends of the past may not have been entirely imagined. Long ago, sailors looked out across the endless ocean and believed monsters lived beneath the waves. And perhaps, in the deepest, darkest parts of the sea, something still does. So, as the waves move slowly across the water tonight, and the wind gently touches the surface of the sea, imagine those ancient sailors watching the dark horizon, wondering what might rise from the depths below, because the ocean has always been a place of mystery, and some mysteries are still waiting to be discovered. Sleep peacefully, and let the quiet ocean carry these ancient stories into your dreams.